When you're setting up central communication set lines, it's truly understanding the power requisition location of time setting. It's about understanding the importance location when it comes in high travels. Hyperspeed, hyperdrive, allocate position, acceleration, Mach setting, interference. It's all direct locations, how you synergize your set locations. The energize, interline rotation, interference location calculation streams. The direct locations are levels. Now the team has set locations into 0, into 1, 3, 4, 5 settings, and 2 track locations, security line settings. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, you guys just finished having your test lines. But you're in a 7th line setting. Now, 7th line setting sets position to your bodies of water. It opens all communication set rotations to your setting interference. That opens all plasma set locations, all right? Everybody eventually will be in their theta set locations, right? So it's all determination through your capacity location. This opens all channels of view and operation locations. Today in class, we're going to go through the location grid. If you try to understand what's going on through the absent line, it's like waking up the higher self for the very first time. The higher self is all correlated to position location. It's 114 chakras. The calculation streamline is already set line center interference. And this is where it opens all communication settings with interference location of channels. This channels its operation stream. It's higher levels of channel interference location. It's about understanding these line signals and all position location directions. Hold on a second. So setting a communication line stream is truly understand the high interference and how levels on your position location and site set locations, cyclops set lines and high line rotation interference, what it is to all levels. The ocular set locations, the penile gland set locations, the position location direct settings. To understand that you have a theta setting back in position line directions. All right. So as 2 panels and position location and direction line setting. We go ahead to a triangle. You can the lines in position of 3 waving settings. And so understanding how to set up size graph streamline is true. Understand how to set up the schematic line center locations to your target center locations. It's all lines into one, bringing it in position locations to one track setting, to one number. When we get you guys into one number, we expand your algorithm setting to a sky grid set location of skyward and skynets. Put you guys into numbers taking location of patterns. So the position line direction sets lines in communication when it comes into 0 line 1, equal line conditions of 0, okay, in position of 2, in position locations into 0, 3, okay, 3 line communication, right, into its own triangulation, okay. That's what happens when you get into 114. Now, the 114 sets a line communication to higher levels of travels. This puts position locations to your area code set locations of 3 0 line settings, equal line condition levels of 7. Okay. So recognizing that 3 line setting sets you into levels of 3, 3, 3, heart, mind, and soul. Sets a communication lines to your diamond core setting, location of northwest, south, and east. Okay. So this centers its communications all levels. This sets a barcode to 3 line setting, 3 activations, and 3 location settings. Set of communications all levels puts you in positions to a Stargate setting in rotation to its surface to all levels of Orion's belt calculation. This channels its operation streamlines. 0 comes into levels of UFO set location. Setting communication and ground setting to a new operation cycle. Okay. So this puts you in a higher communications into all levels of travel. Zip, zap, zoom, out through location. All right. So we all have to recognize how to bring everything down to one number. That one number comes into 0 line 1, okay, and set locations into 12 line setting line position locations, plus underscore, plus triangle line conditions of box equal location of triangle set lines. Okay, so it's a self line setting, okay, into a north track locations, into an east, into a west line position. Okay, center calculations jumps back times back in position of 0 line positions, goes forward in calculations times equal line conditions of pi, setting calculation. Okay? So in that position of direction, you have to truly understand how to get in positions to your zero gravity line settings in all line positions to its own flux capacitor location, right? Setting signals, high center line interference, into waving patterns, in correlation setting, into all levels of travel locations. This is where it comes into interline graph streams locations, into 4 channels of operations, crossing signals and high setting. Okay, electrical grid panels and set location to hologram stream sets. Opens all communications into 0 line setting, into 12 line positions, into pi calculations to set lines of its set location. Okay. So receiving position line directions levels how to get into transformation line streams. This is where it comes into mutation valves. Now, mutation valve has locations on levels. Valve set locations comes into velocity, into an umbrella to satellite location. Satellite comes into set location of 0 line position of 1 track locations into 1 0 0. New ground setting into 0 operations into 2 track locations of 2 line setting. Okay, 2 line setting in position comes into 3. So this is exactly what you can do with your positions when you go to higher calculations into 3 equal line conditions into 12 equal line conditions into your DNA. Set lines at Fibonacci swirl and set locations to a double helix and rotation setting. Okay. Higher levels of communication rotation interference is really understand how to measure your communication settings to all levels. Okay. Because you guys have your 5, 6, and 7 now opened up through signal. Okay, through all of those operation locations. All right, so we're going to go through the location grid setting, center calculation, right? So I'm going to go through sprinkler line settings in 3 line settings, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that's pi position, pi calculation, pi of stream, pi division, pi of activation line setting, and pi of high setting interference, and pi of all calculation. All right. All right, so that's set up line interference. That's 7,000 line settings. That's 7,000 line position. Even like 1,000 line rotation. So that's 1,000 line positions over pi. Okay. Center calculus stream. You guys are going to start in the center rotations into the Fibonacci swirl line. Sets position of travels into a 45-degree setting. Setting travel location is center communication. Center op or high line center. 6-dimensional observation cycle VR set lines. Now, how position versus reality communication line stream. Set position of teleportation stream interference. 7th dimension, 8th dimension, 9th dimension, 10th, 11th line center. Get the team to travel location right through the location grid setting. 20 minutes on the clock. Have fun. All right. So the pi sequence line center changes all levels of pi communication circles. That sets line position location all direct line setting. Okay. So now you guys are in the universal grid of operation of Skynet line setting. Okay, Skynet equal line condition interference, sets position location directions, net in inline center rotation satellite positions in position underscore in pause line setting underscore in pause locations and underscore through satellite division. Okay, have fun. Setting signals is trying to send how to get in position location to higher levels of travels. Travel records of time, travel records of course, travel records of timelines, allocate position location streamlines. The high position location of its track settings is all about understanding how to use all levels. We always start with 0 gravity, okay, thin line setting, because the high position location has a dome. That dome sets line position of center clock center locations into travel position of 4 line settings. Rotation interference, this is your Earth rotation setting. Set locations. Okay. Setting line 196 line conditions into Earth position of the box and position of triangle. Set line conditions of pi. Pi position locations. All right. Equal line conditions of levels. That equalizes this line setting equal line conditions of mass. Mass position of communications into all levels. Into teleportation, telecommunication, telewaving, and teleinterference. Set location. All right. So as you come into that line division, you have to truly understand how to coordinate all levels of view through 7 lines, equal line conditions into box, position locations, equal conditions into triangle set locations. That's what you guys are into. Okay, so you finally understand what box is, and you're starting to know what triangle is. So like the male aspect location of female position location to a set line setting. Male over female, female over male. So the 7-line center in high line rotations crosses its signals in 2-line position of panels. That directs location opens a new position line center to location to its moon setting to an operation cycle that sets position location at different travel line settings. The sun commutes high line rotation interference sets position location on levels of travel location, setting communication to the moon setting straight through locations. Triangulation of male and female line center in triangulation position of point of view. That opens all communications to a double helix set line and rotation setting. Okay, sending communications in all levels of travel, again in position of 45 line setting into 2 position location of track setting. New panels of operation to portals in communication to realms of circle line settings into correlations of its realm connection. Okay, very powerful when you come to those line settings. So I'm just showing you how powerful it is when you start using locations all over the track or set locations. All right, so where we are at the division line setting, rotation, location, grid set. Let's see here. How's everybody doing? Okay, so we just finished the test line. So we have another review and position evaluations to another test locations to its results. You have to understand the importance too, because it's all about you guys getting into your 12 DNA through activation setting. It gets a lot more fun, especially when we reach our levels of capacity location. All right, so we got calculations of the sim, imposition of airbender, calculations all of the layup. Lori, calculations of Seraphon. How you doing? Let's see, Geneva, locations of Joanne, Janelle, JP, Jill, all of Gypsy, Don, calculations of Ryan, Dylan. All right, it's great to see everybody's on point, all the right location. Trinity, let's see, Guardian, some communities of Johnny, levels of Heather, set locations, high setting to position locations into commander, setting calculation streamlines, high line position location directions. Chris, Val, calculation streamlines, high interference, high direct locations, and Russ. Russ coming to Skyla, Skyla position location direct line setting, all position location directions. All right. Let's say we are through line center interference, set location. All right. Downshifting 45-degree angle, set locations, high setting. Yeah, so it's really understanding, what Trinity is trying to do is trying to understand the process, how to use Quasar. Quasar comes in all ways and forms through lasered set lines. So I'll understand how to redirect locations to levels. Retraction, reduction, set locations. So let's say you got a circle line setting and set locations. That's a circle line setting, but it looks like just a circle. A circle line setting, so circle line interference, circle equalocation of line, equalocation location of setting, okay, into its triangulation set. Sets position location, another one, to another one, to another one, in circular line position. So there's a lot of ways to travel locations. All you're doing is you're creating hologram structure streams. Now that comes into radiograph line setting, the radiograph. Okay, radiograph, that's where we're coming into right now, into all line center species line communications, graph set locations. Radiograph streamlines and set locations into 3, into 6, into 9, equal condition new line center locations into new tablet line interference, into 6, 7, and 8 line connections in position location direction. So center communication setting high line rotation interference comes into all communications to this and set locations, earth line rotation, set communication, center communication. Right? Comes into a kaleidoscope, a new travel line setting. Setting communication to a box line rotation to another dimensional round setting opens all communication to another security position location of directions. It's all about protecting what's everything inside location of your setting. Okay. Setting communications comes out of the circle line setting into an atom line setting, rotation to another atom line setting, to another atom line rotation into triangulation position. It's all about travel line position location into a half pipe and 6 line triangles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 position locations, half moon set lines, half equal line conditions equals moon set locations, equal line conditions of sun in set location into hologram structure line setting. Okay? Recognition of time is to understand the applied to individual locations, how it works for you and all level of calculation streamlines. So it's really recognizing your point views and what you're doing through all settings, all right? So you got an avatar line setting. Okay, avatar set locations, right? Align center location, higher self. Higher self sets line position location direction locations. High center interference, 114 chakra set locations into one number in set location to all levels of zero track location to 3 set locations. Okay, that's what we have to come into, starting with zero gravity setting. So taking the 114 into one position location to this line setting comes into a new atom line rotation circle. Sets new panels and position line directions, energy fields, and rotation center locations. Circulation and rotation interference puts you in all line settings to new schematics of patterns. Now, the schematic patterns opens all communication to your signals that sets wires, set line wires, communication like connections to a portal, and gypsy communication, an intercon line setting. Okay. Interline center equalization of all levels of a hologram streamline is set locations to a platitude division location. Platitude line center locations, high center interference of UFO position locations into scan lines into a new operation cycle and rotation to a dimensional setting rotation. All right, so there's a lot of signals that sets line signals and high line rotation interferences, platitude visual location and calculation set lines. It's all about redirect locations to your trackers and how it represents your position location directions, right? All right. 12,000 miles and interference and detected flickering switches up. Max. All right, so really recognize communications. The more you undermine your set lines, you basically come into relays. If you're trying to understand what a relay program is, connect with Gypsy because she's very high rise and set locations into all prodigal set locations to the internet line set locations of portals to space and communication navigation line centers of time position line rotations. Connect with Jill. She's communication to Merkaba and all calculations to her scram lines. Airboundary correlation position line directions to navigation settings. Guardian and calculations to Asgard and position location high center interference. Okay, commander and set locations to his Thunderbird to all lines of planes in position line direction. We have to recognize all our systems and what we can do through high center locations of a hologram structure location. Channel operators and streamlines in 2 position locations. Okay, take the H line centers and 3 line position location in the calculation setting. Okay, sets up beautiful panels and communication to 3 atmosphere line settings. All position locations, all levels, opens all position line directions, high center line position location and calculations, all levels of travel line position locations to an airplane of activation. Okay. Setting communications zooms, high center and line rotation interference is to understand how to use the engine to its correlation set. It opens all position locations to a bullseye, set line position of 0 gravity, set in position of 1 gravity line setting, in position of 2, 2 line centers of 3, 3 line centers of 4, 4 line centers of 5, 5 into 6, 7 into rotation. All right, so you guys have to really recognize the 0 to 7 now, right? Really get comfortable with what you're doing through all position, number, sequence, location settings. It's all about understanding the line setting locations into your chakra settings, and this is what it does. It goes in one way direction, and it goes in the opposite way direction. This is what your chakra system does through its rotation of a stomach line setting. The rotation spin cycle locations opens all line position locations into you through operation setting locations. Setting communication sets you all levels. These are your arms lines and set locations into hologram structure line. That's you in rotation. Trackers are set locations into all set locations. Center line in rotation is 0 gravity and line interference. That's the 0 gravity location position of time. Space sets lines and time sets sequence location of maintenance. So time lines is position location to its own pi of calculation. Okay. So we have to recognize how fast we can go through acceleration line settings. Once the 0 gravity comes in the condition of Mach position location acceleration locations into bio in position line direction, high center into all levels of hemisphere line setting. You get in the hemisphere, you come into line center location, hemisync, and center locations coming into all lines. You guys are higher position line directions now because you're coming into ozone layers. Line condition line center interference. You guys are coming to ozone layers now. So you got helium in your throat location. Center calculations is triangulation, 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 triangulation. Inside locations into box line center into ozone location. All right. So I really want you to recognize the 0 to 5. Okay. to 7-line setting because they're activated through set locations. 0-line center location equals 1 position of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, setting calculations. So that's 0 gravity line setting. Equal condition new gravity level set location. This is a very high rate set. So setting communication line centers at bracket set locations on 1, 2. So that's 12 line set locations. So 12 equals line condition of 12 equals location high center interference. Set location of 24 sets location. Okay. Now, when you get into 24, you come in downline setting rotations and 48. 48 comes to this location equal to its window set location. Okay. Now, when it comes into 48 window line center, you travel this line setting in 3 triangle locations. Okay. Setting communications to a box, box, box. Okay. Understanding how to use the box setting line and rotation interference. The position location of the UFO sets communications, scan settings and all operation cycles and high center into a 48 window of track location, right? So what it does is it sets up the laser grid set locations into 3 triangle set lines, okay? So as it's going down the grid set location, it's setting up a Skynet grid line in its network location setting. Once it comes into all of that, it comes into electrical belt, and that belt travels its line position location to all levels of travel locations, in set locations, high levels of travel sets, high position location to its ground setting. Okay. So recognizing graph lines is really understand the register patterns, and when it comes into course lines of triangle line centers, all calculations to its formula. Okay, recognizing each number's sequence location, right? So what you're doing is you're sending out packages of position location number lines in a correlation panel. Now that correlation panel is a connections to a walk surface, a stepping position location of high setting line position locations on one-way line setting, and another line communication to another one line center interference, set line conditions to equal line conditions. 3 line center location of clouds, equal locations into teleportation streamlines, and line center rotation to teleport communication set line center interference, sets position location of higher lines into an UFO lines into new ground setting rotation in a surface. Surface comes into position locations, channels and position locations, all levels. Crosses signals, zip zap zoom, goes down position location into ground line setting. As its travel location, it comes back into cloud line rotations, creates its own position of schematics and rotation setting. So if you understand how you see these things, it's really recognizing everything through form because it calculates and modifies all levels of travel through its UFO connection. Okay. So relays, setting up new grid lines, defense, screen, spectrum lines, setting cloak, distractions, and mountains and holograms. See, scrambler, physical lines can be flashing. Yeah. It's incredible when you see these line settings. So this is all correlated high center interference of 0 to 7. And this is what you can do. Imagine what you can do when you open up your 12. Imagine what you can do when you open your 114 in schematic line settings. So all position location to all direct location is space of time through its own pi through one tracker setting. Okay. So once you get into that position, you get into quantum interference. Now that's lace line rotation interference of correlation. Okay. So that's quantum interference. Okay. This is a galaxy lock setting. Okay. This is a rotation spin cycle. This is a clustering location setting. This is an open cycle on dimension line and rotation interference. This is a clustering channel operation stream location. Right? Everything is set in view, all through your tracker settings. So it's trying to recognize what you are doing through correlation, trying to understand what you're doing through information. It's trying to understand what you're doing through your computer setting. It's trying to understand what you're doing through your grids. When you come into your location to grids of all line settings from 0 locations, equal line conditions, into highest center location of 1, position of 2, position of 3, position of 4, position of 5, position of 6, and position of 7. That's how your grids are going to be set up. Okay, just start off line setting. The ground line center location has 7 line position locations, equal line center location of 12, 6 equal location of 12, right? So it's all position location 0 to 12 line setting, but each one line is a digital positional form line position locations that codes its system locations into new gravity setting into 0 gravity location. Setting communication of 2 panels of operations line setting. Okay, opens all communication of laser direct location to position of direction line settings. High center interference across its signals and position locations into process of your calculations to your 114 aligned center locations of your DNA. Wow. Okay. So it's very powerful when you understand formulas of equation set. Okay, formula location. Bracket setting line position of 0. Very complicated stuff. I'll set up a formula that's very high rise. Like here's of 0. Set locations into 3 lines, center location of triangulation, set locations. Center communications into 4 triangle set locations. Start with that line setting. Center calculations of Fibonacci swirl line setting, rotation spin cycle line position at all levels. Double helix and kaleidoscope location. Setting communication at all levels of travel line setting and set lines. So we set a communication at all levels of new program location. This centers its generation light stream and high lines rotation position locations into set location. Setting location to high line communication, all levels of high centered interference, rotation spin cycles, and high calculation streamlines. So as we come into a position, we come into a force triangle, set location to an XD1000 line, into a UFO line or foundation rotations to all 0 gravity location. All right. So recognizing set lines is to understand the importance how to use 0 to 7. Okay. This puts you in a better track locations, right? You have to really, really recognize these things because you're going to be using this every single day. Okay, in your schematic line setting, right? 0 gravity location comes in all ways and forms. Okay, you have to really recognize these line signals. This positions as direction location, 0 locations. So all you got to remember is that you're trying to use your DNA to a formation location of 12. Your 12 is foundational, but try to get into the position location of doing this. Okay. Okay, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. And then it gets more complicated. This way, 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 this way. This way, 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 this way. And then all position locations just all over the place, in correlation. So what you're doing is you're creating a cycle line setting, a high line of rotation interference of a cluster location of a channel operation setting into each track locations. All right. Tracker setting, you're sure you understand all position location, how it's set to 0 line position location equals a 7, 7 line position location of 1, position location of 2, set location of 3, 3 position of 4, 5 sets, 6, and position location of 7. Right? And so this is how it works. The rotation sets 0 gravity locations. I'll show you exactly what happens with your trackers. Setting communication of 0 in position 1 to 2, 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7. That's what it does every single day. Okay, and the 7 line position location goes in line center. You have to have the 8 line setting into infinity cycle. That's where it comes into all correlations into 2 panels of space and time. Each line consists of 2 panels, calculation streamlined, which is 11 your solar system like connections. So it crosses signals and comes down in position locations on all levels to set location. There you go. Now, when you get an line rotation interference, you go back in position location of 4. 4 equals location into solar panels. Solar panels comes into its magnetic line setting. That opens all position locations, all levels in position location at 3 set locations. Now, when it comes into 3 line setting, you come into allocate position of 4, equal line conditions of 5, which is a heart generation light stream that comes into 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 line setting in position of 7 over 8 over 5. That 5 sets its position locations in all level system. The circulation comes in this way line setting, comes in this way line setting, comes in this way line setting, comes in this line setting, comes in this line setting, comes in this line setting locations. Right? So knowing exactly what's going on with energetic graph streams, you come in at the wireline position, your data off system. Okay, this is coming at formation location to its own spectrum communication settings, right? But once you understand how to use 0 gravity interference, it sets all position locations. That's right, data codes of analyzed locations. So when you analyze these things, these are lacing lines at digital locations. Okay. Your body is set up to a circle line rotation. Okay. The center communication comes into its compound. Okay. That's what it is. Your stomach line is just nothing but a wall setting. So understand the graph line, streamlines, and position locations of electrical fence locations. Center calculations, streamlines, position locations, all levels. Center calculation, all levels in high center interference. Setting communication to ground setting in position location of direction to a near new 0 ground location into a center calculations to its flux capacitor set location. Okay, very powerful. So we really have to recognize our chakras and what they are inside and how to use them in all ways and forms. Okay, it's about understanding how to use the calibration system, the activation streamlines, the position location directions, or anything through solar panel applications, right? Blocking line centers of 0 and set locations into 12 line setting, into 24, into position of 48 center line conditions, into 72 of your computer operation line stream, into 144 equal line conditions to its location, equal line conditions to all levels of grid settings of 0 to 7 location. Okay? So there's a lot to understand. Okay? There's a lot to understand. Now, you guys are in 31 line settings, 30 locations. Guys are back. Close your windows, pre-flight your locations, check, check, check. Check information line streams, anything through leaks, anything through panels, or all line position locations. All right, so as we come into location grids, this is how it's set up high setting, crossing grid line set rotations. There's a crystal grid. Center calculation is position locations into levels of an airline setting in rotation to a magnetic highway formation cycle. Sets communication of center grounds and set location to an orb system location. Center calculations to another orb sound and another location to a 3-line center location. All right? Center calculations into a walkway surface and a hologram streamline into a ground rotation setting. Very powerful. Okay? Walking the system in position of direction is to understand how to use the crystal grid settings. Okay? Once you stand the crystal grid line settings, the XT1000 comes in 2 position line settings, in 3-line center rotations, into 4Q communications, into 5-line setting. Once you're creating a hologram structure, you come into locations. Setting communications comes into line signal, center calculations, right? This is where they go GGG. Now they zip, zap, zoom. They go through correlations of each panel into set locations. One set locations in downline settings sets up a new ground setting and rotation to another ground interference location position of patterns. Now that opens all signal locations when you come in online center interference. The next thing you do in position locations is they scan the channels of operation streams, set location to 3-line settings and all position location of direction. Okay? Very powerful when you come to all calculations to a hologram structure of its division of space and time. Okay? So recognizing these things through panels is to understand how to use the operation circles, its rotation to its interference. This opens all communication settings to what you're doing through correlation. Shads and shades and shadows and highlights and rotation of sun communication, all levels of channel operation streamlines, coming into 3 panels of correlation. Setting the eye position locations into eye lines, into shades and shadows, in position location of directions. Okay, so this is where it comes into all levels of course line setting. Zero gravity interference, sets position location directions. Sets position location and directions. Sets position location directions. So what you're doing is you're creating a hologram structure of a virtual reality of your set lines of communications, right? All through sun graphs, sun streams, sun codes, high center generation light settings, all calculation interference. This opens all position locations of prodigal line setting. Now, prodigal line setting comes into prodigy locations, and that's where the sun returns in all calculations to all levels of TV receptions, TV streams, and all position line centers of hologram structure locations of its position location into its high line setting to its position location to all line connections to high center interference of all position locations in space and time of track location of a TV reception. Hoo-ah. So, we having fun yet? Zip zap zoom, taxied APU on the shutdown. Well, that's good. It's set location settings. Theta graph stream, set radiation graph, navigation ways, omega connections, highway. Well, that's good. Location set, location settings. Triangulation to structure line. Yeah. You see, now you're understanding your line positions because your power records, your timelines are basically showing you more levels. So the more you construct lines and more levels of your tracker settings, you really get to understand how to create more levels of hologram structure locations into your virtual reality you're setting. Okay, this is going to help you in all ways and forms how you can create anything through the locations of nothing into everything through its correlation system, just in the 3 panels of operation cycles of set location. Right? But you need the panels of space and time. Okay, center calculation streamlines and division location of travel location. right? Very high horizontal line center interference, and everything that I set up in position location is all levels of travel. So you travel to align position locations into signals and high center interference, signals and high interference, and set locations. Okay. Center calculations to all levels of a jump start line setting, open signals, open panel calculation streamlines, going through direct signal and position line directions. Okay. So there's a lot of things you have to understand what you can do through 0 to 7. Plot division locations or levels. When you reach higher levels of your tracker setting, this is going to give you a little bit more understanding how you can use higher levels of travel. Coming into galactic interference, coming into interdimensional interference, coming into interdimensional interference, coming into mega interference, coming into multi-layers of interference locations of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 equal line conditions into multi-layers. Okay, equal line conditions of space, connections of time setting. Okay. The alpha channel line rotation interference is line position location of alpha, but alpha could be position of beta. Beta position locations all levels. Correlation set location of gamma sets position location of levels when it comes into track interference. So you have to really understand how to use the energy graph lines because it's all connected to your course channels and operation to your DNA patterns. The position locations to its operation is omega calculation streamlines, center calculation streamlines, crossing signals and high line rotation and triangulations and 3-point settings in 3-point line rotations in position of 3, allocate positions of time and space line interference to its location setting. So there's a lot more fun when we really recognize how to use these things through your space, through your time, and through your pi. Okay? This is going to help you in all ways and forms how you can really get in provision to know exactly what you're doing through its theta connections, right? 7 is extremely important to all calculation stream because it opens all line center locations to all dimensional settings, all position location of all direct line setting. All waving cycles and crisscross line settings and all position location direct line settings, all position location operation cycles, all position location of travel line settings, all position location of galaxy settings, all calculations, all atmosphere line rotation. Okay? So we really have to recognize why we are doing these things. The purpose is for you to understand how to create it on its own setting, its own system location, and comes into its own data process line setting. So remember, every time you go up to higher line communication, you're starting to understand more levels of you through activation. The activation is just the beginning, right? Especially when you get into 7-line setting. I want you to really recognize these things. That's why you have a test every Monday. Okay, so setting locations, high center interference, you guys have to go from 24 to 36. 24 line settings and locations to 36 line position. Okay, 3 equals 6 lines. And correlations, you have 0 back into ground side location. 0 gravity interference. So you have to really recognize how to use position location of 12 to 36. Flux capacitor set locations into levels of channel operation streamlines. This gets more complicated. Set locations, all of the channel operation streamlines, setting communication of point settings and high center interference. Correlation position of communication set lines and rotation center communication. Line strip high center new flux capacitor communication of channel operation stream. So it's really understand that, when you're using locations of your set lines, you have to really understand how to use the flux capacitor position locations, ground center operation cycles, center position location E lines, circle line interference of travel communication in 12-line settings. Okay? So it's important you understand how to use your formulas equation locations from 0 to 7-line signals. Okay? Transmitting, equal line conditions of receiving is extremely important. You have to understand travel, and you have to understand its position locations of remembering its set lines of its memory location. Memory location comes into position location to adaptation, right? So it comes into A, into its interference, inline conditions to its intelligent line setting, high line rotation to all levels, a box location into theta calculation stream. So when you get into that position line directions, it changes all levels of you through correlation. Recognizing your line centers, your heart line centers of 5-line center rotations, equal line conditions of 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, set position of 0, 0, 0, 0, 6, 7 line setting, 7 equal line conditions of 8, 8 position locations of 9, 9 8 line conditions of 12, center core set locations, center position location of 0 light and setting, and satellite location. So you have to really recognize what you are doing through course channels of operation of numbers, right? Because the position line direction location, Trinity has to understand the chakra settings, how it works and the levels. If you get a 0 gravity interference at 1 line setting, you have of 7, 7 understands 6, is 6 understands 6, position 6 comes back and is 6 equals the location of 0. So you got to bring 0 back in set locations in position location to its own pi, calculation of its own space, in set location to its timelines, in set location to its metric setting in high center interference, in its rotation surface, in location to its 12 cycle set location. So once you recognize your 0 to 7, and the reason why I keep repeating this is you have to understand the importance of what you're doing through activation line settings when you're going through your astral travels, your astral connections, and your astral projections. It's extremely important how to get into more formula in your equations into 0 and set location. Okay? Because these are the things you have to understand, getting in relationships with your numbers. So 0 line center location is off through 1. Okay, 0 equals 1 is going back force into 1 equal line condition of 0. 1 equals 0, okay, and 0 equals 1. So that's going forward and backwards. The set communication line center is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Okay, stream graph line setting. Stream graph 5 then position locations, 5 equals line connections into 6. 6 into 7. Okay, 7 into line conditions of 8. 8 position location of 9, and 9 position location of 10, rotation surface and locations into 10,000 units in set locations. Remember to bracket locations into levels of 0, 0, 0, and bracket location. Okay, so it's very complicated if you understand what I'm doing. Right? It's recognizing the symbols, the letters, numbers, and shapes, and all of its correlation and activations to its number sequence location of patterns coming to its own arbitrary location of its own computer set, its own data stream setting. Recognizing high setting, high line rotation interference is all position location of programs. This puts you in a better directions how to set locations. And that's why I want you guys to get into all positions to missions and journeys just with your number sequence locations. So let's start with 12 line setting. 12 line center rotations into location of 11. There's 11 solar systems, set locations around all levels of calculation setting. See, there's a solar system. 6 planet settings, right? 11 into 6, right? So even though I go 11, 6, 2 line, 1, 3 line, 4 line, 6, it doesn't matter. Everything's in order. Because what I'm doing is I'm traveling, going up and down, up and down, up and down, back and forth, going this way, going that way. I can go back in time, I can go forward in time, I can go forward in time, or I can go really forward in time setting. It's all through data stream location, right? So everything's in panel calculations in one line strip and set locations into set lines into levels of a data stream calculation stream. Okay? Recognizing high center interference is to understand the program location, how it comes into all graph line settings in a 45 line position location, all the setting. Okay? So understanding the graph lines, understanding the stream lines, understanding the rotation streams, and understanding the alpha communication, delta, theta, beta, omega, communication logs, the gamma lines that are radiation cycles in line position location 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right, so you got 4 line settings, 4 divisions, and 4 locations. And set location of 3 sets, right, into its triangulation to set location. So you have to really understand the triangulation to all levels of interface locations, the graph line settings. Okay, comes into all the communication of travel communication to 3 sets into 12 line streams and set location security measure. Okay. I know it's very complicated, guys, but that's what you guys are coming into. Your volumes and your capacity is understanding more now. So to understand its own intelligence is to understand its form of all calculations to each chakra setting. The chakra setting is just a waving cycle into your observation cycles. Okay, this is where you direct locations to its engaged and disengaged settings. Setting communication system locations, coming to channel operator streamlines and set location to your setting, into all levels of scan locations through observation only. Because in business locations, this is what you're scanning in line settings for track locations, right? So there's an XD1000 coming in position location to your lacing line settings. So it sets location, you scan its set location, it scans you in position to its ground setting location. There's a port of communication line setting, rotation interference, sets position location of directions. As it comes in line center, it comes into a positions to all levels of channel operating streamlines in forward calculation streams. Okay, so it's very complicated if you don't understand your activations to your 0 to 7 locations. All right, you have to recognize these line settings, especially when you come into levels of 5, 6, and 7 locations. All right. So once you understand that line communication, you start living in space, so all set locations, you understand more levels, how you use your schematic line setting and rotation interference. As this is all it is, of locations to your set lines of communication setting. It starts with this. Setting communication dimensional door here, lock signal over here, crosses over here, 2 panels, operation streams, line settings, high interference, set position location directions, all levels of channel operating streamlines, 3 calculation stream locations. Okay, so you have to recognize the side line position locations, right? Now, once you recognize the line center interference, you understand the dimensional direct line centers of 0, set location of 1, set position location of 1, set position location of 0, sets position location of 2, sets position location of 3, and sets position location of 4. Taking track lines, the high line interference line direct locations. So this is about one step line setting and one graph stream location to getting out the matrix locations. So this is where you come into levels of communication trap settings. Now, when you get into trap interference, the matrix is extremely complicated because it's a dimensional door lock. So try to recognize the communication of plateaus and positional program settings. So all you're trying to do is reactivate set lines of dimensional door lines into zero gravity interference into the right signature patterns because you have seconds on channel operating streamlines to reset locations into its panel operation line setting that opens all communication to its matrix setting of operation. And if you look really close, you can see the intelligence. There's the nose, there's the mouth, there's the chin. See? There's the back, there's the front, there's the nose, there's the eye. Intelligence is always, and there's the mouth. Okay? So really recognize communication airlines, and airline communication, 3-line position location. There's the intelligence right here. Sending communications right there. There's the intelligence. Okay? So it's very powerful when you come to line position locations. Yeah, refactoring calculations all levels. Very good, Heather. But I want you to really recognize these things because we're going to be coming into all levels of masterclass. Masterclass is going to provide you through how you travel through dimensional doors. 1 door line center, airbender. There's 3 dimensional door sets, right? Each one has a round calculation setting and a clock location, right? Now, when a higher self comes in, set location, it's right here. Okay, that's your higher self. It sees its position of scan lines right here. It scans everything, right? So it goes to the door line setting, but before that goes to the door line setting, it has to understand the relay program set as electrical line interference and set location. In set location, here's a planet setting. So it can't go through the panel line center interference until it understands its beacon light setting. A beacon set location has an open signal that opens all position locations of travel line setting rotation. All right. So like I said, if you go on the YouTube on SPACETIMECREATER, I tell you exactly how the higher self goes through its continuous force of its planets of its location grid. The recognition timelines is to understand how to travel through these things, guys. Okay. This opens all communications into 3 door settings, 3 line settings, 3 rotations into 3 activation stream sets, heart, mind, and soul. That takes 1 position line directions out of a correlation system to a planet line rotations into another planet location setting. Okay, into its travels of recognition of a kaleidoscope location. Okay. So it's important you understand how to really get in position locations into your dimensional settings, going through dimensional door, going through the line center interference, because there's always going to be an in equal line conditions to an outline setting. There always has to be an in with an outline setting. When you go through the right ear line center, you're coming into the left ear. Okay, so understanding the ground line setting is understanding rotation and position locations to all levels. U in the center communication to set locations. Channels in this way line setting, channels in this way line setting rotation. Now this is an opposite cycle line center interference. So different patterns, different alpha wave communications. Alpha, this is omega. Alpha, omega. See how it's a different location? One's going this way, one's going this way. So sound waves are coming from the direct line signal in the opposite location direction, right? But this is all correlations to set lines of Earth in set location, and this is all calculations of set lines and communication of space of atmosphere line setting. Okay, but there's always an in and there's always an out. Always. So it's always doing this in position locations. All right. So it's fun, isn't it? I know there's a lot going on right now. So there's a lot of communication settings and position location directions. 10 minutes, and we'll see you guys on Zoom. Adios.